Independence Township Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. It is Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, and I would invite you to join me in Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Megan, we have a roll call, please.
Sure. Member Wallace.
Here.
Member Ritchie.
Here.
Chair Epic.
Here.
Member Zurich.
Here.
Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
And Township Board Member Hayward.
Yes. Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Gentlemen, we have an agenda that is available in the room. It was also published online. If we could have a review of that agenda and any changes or alterations, or if not, a motion to accept the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
We've moved, we have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda. Before we move into the agenda, I'd like to just make a couple announcements. Number one, Alan Auger is no longer on our Zoning Board of Appeals. I'd like to acknowledge Alan's service, I think 18 or more years of dedication. Terrific person, terrific addition to the zoning board all these years, always had insightful comments. It is likely that Alan may become an alternate. There's some things that the township board has to work out in terms of just ordinance language, but there's a possibility that we may see Alan again occasionally as a member. So I certainly would welcome that, and I want to thank, on behalf of the zoning board and on behalf of the township, thank Alan for everything that he's done for the community. We also don't have Brian Ottman with us tonight. Brian is in the township still, but has changed roles within the township. Brian's been a big part of our zoning board of appeals, has kind of kept us on track for many, many years. And so again, I'd like to thank Brian for everything he has done. Big part, and we appreciate all his organization. We're lucky enough to have Megan Mason-Minnick tonight. So Megan, welcome to the ZBA team, and we appreciate it, and we'll hopefully work with you to stay organized and get everything done. So thank you. And lastly, we have Trustee David Hayward joining us tonight. The Township Board last night appointed Mr. Hayward as a liaison from the Township Board, so we welcome Mr. Hayward to the ZBA. With that, I'll move back to the agenda. Does anybody have anything additional on those topics? With that, we have an agenda. The first item on our agenda tonight is public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for anybody in the audience or online to address the board and therefore the township on anything that is not on our agenda. So if anybody in the audience would like to address the board, seeing no public comment in the board, we do have someone online. If you're online, I see the initials BN. If you would like to address anything not on the agenda, now would be the time to do so. Hearing no public comment, I will bring that back and I will close item E, public comment. Next on the agenda is item F, unfinished business. We have no unfinished business, so we will move swiftly on to item G, new business. We have 3 items under new business. The first is the election of officers. The second is the 2026 ZBA schedule. And then the third is case number 26-001, which we'll get into in a minute. So at this point, I would open up item number 1, the election of officers. We have 3 officers, chairman, vice chairman, and secretary that are elected every year. Any motions or discussion?
Well, we had a vice chair that was Alan, and he's no longer with us. We have to fill that, I think, but I guess I'd like to make a motion. Well, first, does anybody have any concerns about serving in one of the 3 places?
Yeah.
So I guess the first motion would be to elect the current chair as the new chair. And if I'm currently the secretary, if anybody would like to be a secretary, they're welcome to take that task on. Other than that, I would, as part of that motion, maintain myself as the secretary, and then we need to find a vice chair.
Do we want to do this one at a time, or?
Can we do it all three?
I guess I'll nominate Neil Wallace to be the vice chair.
I would second that.
So we have a motion to appoint myself, Jim Epping, as chairman, Neil Wallace as vice chairman, and Ken Zurich as secretary for the 2026 calendar year. Do we have support for that motion?
Second.
We have support for that motion. Megan, may we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Township Board Trustee Hayward,
Yes.
Board Member Zurich,
Yes.
Chair Epping,
Yes.
then Commissioner Ritchie,
Yes.
and Board Member Wallace.
Yes.
5-0.
Great, the motion carries. So we have seated officers for the year. I appreciate that, that nomination. Second is the 2026 ZBA calendar. On our agenda, there are dates dating back from last month where we had no meeting, right through December 2nd of 2026. I believe that all of these are on the first Wednesday of the month, other than July. July, we typically do the second Wednesday of the month because of the 4th of July holiday. The dates are there. We do have the ability to adjust those as necessary. Did anybody see any need for any changes at this time?
I guess I would like to make one note that every year in April, it seems like the meeting in April falls like the week of Easter. And I guess I'll be
Most-
gone, so
most
it
people
always
are.
causes a conflict for travel, but
I don't have my phone. Do we know
Does
when?
anybody know what Easter rotates quite a bit?
right. It's, I think it is the 5th.
It is the 5th.
So, and basically that week, the 1st is the week the schools are out, I think. So typically I'm on vacation that week. I'm just bringing it up for my personal reasons, but I don't know if anybody else is gonna be missing or not.
Well, the following Wednesday, I suppose, would be April 8th. Not knowing the rest of the township's calendar, there may be conflicts with other boards or commissions. I'm not sure of that either in this room or with some of the staff. But would it be appropriate, short of that, to reschedule the 8th and just confirm it? Go ahead, Megan, I'm sorry.
On the township's calendar on April 8th is the Safety Path Advisory Committee meeting. That's from 6 to 8, but I don't believe that they meet every month.
It is at 6 o'clock.
They don't meet here though, do they?
No, they don't. They meet over at the.
Still at the DPW.
Oh, well then, that
But that
solves
causes,
that.
aren't you on that though? too?
I am.
So that causes a conflict for you then, so.
Well, ideally, we will have one, if not two, alternates seated by that time, and
They've got to change the ordinance to do it.
exactly, they'll need to
Yeah.
change the ordinance where they can do that by April.
Be tight to get it in by then.
Hmm?
Be tight to get that done by then.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I guess perhaps the safest course of action may be to leave it on the 1st at this point. We can revisit that as it gets closer, because the risk of moving it to the 8th, I guess, may be 2 absences, which would be
Right, you don't want to.
worse than 1 absence.
Yeah. Okay.
So if there's no objection, we'll leave that on the 1st and then just revisit as it gets closer, whether it be with an alternate or some other.
So do we need a motion to keep
Please.
as is?
Please.
Motion is to keep the planned meetings as presented.
Support.
We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, we have a set schedule. Item 3, under new business G, is when we move into the actual business of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The way this will work is that I will call in the case into the record. I'll read the applicant's name and what the application requests in terms of variances. We'll then ask the applicant to come up to the lectern, give us your name, your address, and really just walk us through your application. The Zoning Board of Appeals has criteria within the ordinance that it looks for practical difficulty that would be specific to this property. And so we'll be looking for those types of information. We'll ask questions. We'll bring questions up to the board, allow each board member to ask questions, have a conversation, go back and forth, really just trying to get to the meat of that matter. We'll then open it up to public comment. And we'll ask for public comment. We'll bring that back in. We'll ultimately ask some questions and seek to make some type of determination.
Could we
Mr. Wallace?
slide in there at some point to have Megan give us sort of her take on things? I had posed a couple of questions to her. She's responded to me, but I think it would be useful for the rest of the ZBA and the applicant to hear.
I think that makes sense. So we'll do that. With that, I will call case number 26-001, Blake Hederman, petitioner requesting 2 total variances. The first, an 11-foot, 5 1/2 inch front yard variance setback, or variance from the setback, from the front setback, and a 4-foot, 2 1/2 inch side yard variance, both from section 4.06D, table 4.06, in order to remodel an existing home at 9233 Evie Road, parcel number 0810252003, which is in the R1A single-family residential district of our township. Mr. Hederman or someone representing he? Hederman, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Good evening. Thank you, Board. My name is Blake Hatterman. My address is 2010 Roseland Avenue in Royal Oak, Michigan.
Welcome, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time and consideration. When the Chapmans, Carla and Kevin, approached me about renovating this property that they acquired last summer, it was a unique opportunity. And I would like to point out a couple of practical difficulties that we're having with the existing configuration of the home. That's why we are before you. The first practical difficulty is that the existing structure does not meet the setback requirements, so anything that we do to the house is going to require us to come before you to ask for relief. Second, the actual structure itself is very unique, and you can see that in some of the photographs that we submitted as part of our application. The existing roof structure over the main portion of the home, the living space and the kitchen, is full log with actual lumber sheathing over top of that. And the owner's goal is to keep that to the fullest extent possible. That being that the existing bearing walls will be fine to save, and then we'll rebuild 100% of the exterior of the home. It's deteriorated to the point where it's not salvageable, so we will have a significant portion of work to do to that. It wouldn't meet the energy code, and structurally, I think that in my opinion, that the exterior walls are on their last leg, so to speak. The building hasn't necessarily been maintained very well over its lifespan. So our goal is to improve that. Again, there's some other practical difficulties in that the existing bedrooms don't meet the minimum size requirements per code. So we would like to enlarge those in the same place so that we can meet code. We could also meet general standards that we see in design today with regard to room sizes, closets, bathrooms, and things like that. Those are the reasons that we are asking for these variances. We did go through a couple of iterations with the design. It was larger at one time, and we decided to reduce the size of the additions to minimally impact the front yard setback and minimally impact the side yard setback, keeping that far enough away from the property line so that we will not have to fire rate any of the walls. And then also trying to keep that same offset somewhat consistent with what we see existing in the neighborhood. We did look at a number of other properties around the lake, and there's quite a few properties that seem, without actually physically measuring, that seem are also non-conforming. I can only assume that over time the zoning ordinance had been changed to more strict requirements. So those are the reliefs that we're asking of you, and we would be happy to answer any questions that you have regarding what we're planning to do.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hatterman. Before we open up to questions, I will ask Ms. Mason-Minnick to give us an analysis from a planning point of view. You had a chance to look into the history of this lot.
So a couple of things to note. Number one, it's a non-conforming lot in terms of minimum lot size. The minimum lot size for this zoning district, R1A, is 15,000 square feet. And it's approximately 0.3 acres, which computes out to 13,155 square feet. Per question sent by Board Member Wallace, we looked into the history. This structure was built in 1960. That predates the current zoning ordinance, and also I consulted with my colleague Dick Carlisle, who's been the planning consultant for the township since the 1980s, and he said when he came on board, the zoning ordinance at that time had been adopted in either 1977 or 1978. So it's very likely that when this was built in 1960, that it was a conforming structure and met the zoning, if there was any zoning at the time. Also, when I looked in the BSNA database, there were no building permits or anything filed underneath for this building in that file. So there's no record of any other additions, improvements, etc. Finally, looked at other variances to see whether, as the petitioner had said in their application, that they thought this was a common situation for other lots in the neighborhood. When I did a search on Evie Road, the only variance that came up was from 1978 for lot 46 in this subdivision to effectuate a lot split. So on record, and the electronic files go back at least 5-10 years that are available on SharePoint, there hasn't been a variance that has been before the Zoning Board of Appeals for this area. When I searched it, 2 other variances popped up, but it ended up that Evie Road was part of the 300 feet of the notification for other variances that were asked for things that were not on the road, but it popped up in the search because they were on the address labels in the packet.
Makes sense. One other question, Megan, is when I looked at the ordinance, and you and I discussed it briefly, we've a section of our ordinance specifically related to lots, non-conforming lots of record, and I believe, I don't have it open in front of me, that non-conforming lots of record actually have a consideration of side yard setbacks within them, where the least side yard could be 5 foot, and the total of the 2 side yards could be 15 foot. And the reason I bring that up is, right now the applicant is asking for a side yard variance request, and my question is, under the current drawing, the home would still be greater than 5 foot. Would that variance be needed, or am I interpreting our ordinance correctly, thinking that it's entitled to have a 5 foot side yard setback?
Looking at that, I would say it's entitled to have the 5 yard setback, but what I see now that I didn't see when we were talking earlier is item C, that's right below it, that says no permit shall be issued herein except as provided in subsection D except with the approval of the Board of Appeals in a public hearing. And then that application shall state non-conforming lot of record. And the Board of Appeals shall permit the use of such non-conforming lots or lots if it finds that the following standards are met. And there's a number of standards down below that.
Do you have the section of that ordinance?
Sure. It's section 1305. It's item C. And then if you're looking on your computer, you would go to page number 337. And it starts on there and it goes through 338.
Okay. Well, as we look into that, unless we want to pause on that, I'll bring it back to the board for questions. Mr. Hayward, do you want to begin?
Sure. I have a question. If they were to do this addition in the building envelope that's available, would they need a variance?
No,
Okay. Have you considered building in the building envelope that's existing that you would need a variance for?
We have, but the configuration of the building would be non-conforming regarding the building code, so we would have to demolish part of the building to do so.
So I would look at this then to question, is the building itself then also need a variance because this is supposed to be ground-based, land-based for a dimensional variance?
so, I think what you can take under consideration is that if the applicant was building from scratch, they could fit into the building
Mhm.
envelope.
I mean, because there's a lot of space in the building envelope that's being used for
Right.
an accessory building and a decorative concrete patio, which also extends into, that they're asking for variance space for, it looks like, because it goes beyond the building envelope as well. So I'm not sure why, or if there's a reason, what was the reason again, that it couldn't be configured to go into the building envelope?
No, the building is already over top of the setback, so anything that we do is going to require your approval. We looked at flipping the design with the master suite on another side, but that still doesn't preclude us from expanding to the front where the other bedroom is at. And we're trying to salvage as much of the existing structure, obviously, as possible. We'd like to keep that out of the landfill as best we can. We looked at some solutions that reduced it, but that causes some complications in the foundation, the existing foundation. Obviously, we can build into the area where the existing parking is at. However, that configuration doesn't lend itself to the best use of the property, where the site access is, where they park, where they enter the building. Those spaces would be more private spaces, such as the bedrooms, and then the living space, you would have to walk through those to get to that.
Well, one of the things that we have to do when we make decisions on these, it's not always necessarily preference of the,
I agree.
Of the design or anything else. It has to fit with inside the available building area. And we already have non-conforming, and we're not allowed to, the law states that even our own ordinance says that we're not supposed to add to the degree of conformity on this, and so those are my statements.
Mr. Wallace?
I'm taken with the notion that no matter what they want to do here, and I really like the idea that they're preserving this property. I think it has a lot of character, and I think that's a good thing for the community. So, and I understand what you're saying is that no matter what we do, if we were to stay in the same footprint we have now, you'd have to be in front of us for a variance.
Correct.
Yeah. You mentioned in the application the difficulties of the location of the building and its orientation. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, the building is actually skewed on the site, so typically when we would, as me as an architect would build a building, I would orient the building more congruently with the setbacks and the property lines to avoid the issues that we're facing now. So in expanding that, we're sort of encroaching into those setback areas, whereas if the building had been oriented differently when it was constructed, we would not face the challenges that we are now.
Thank you. So you talked about you were going to do it larger, but then pulled back to do, is it smaller overall, the decision they made?
Yeah, it's smaller than the original design that we started with, yes.
Okay. And that's sort of to just do the minimum in terms of affecting our regulations?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I was out to the property, and besides not realizing there was a find like that sort of property, I'm used to seeing it up north, but not here.
Right.
And again, I think it's a good idea that we do what we can to preserve that. I also noted in the neighborhood, and I think this was covered a little bit before, there really is a jumble of how things were constructed.
Mhm.
In some places, the homes are cheek to jowl in the side yard setbacks. Maybe they didn't get a variance, but maybe it's because they didn't apply. I don't know. Huh?
Predated the ordinance.
It could have predated the ordinance, but some of the, and
Some
there's
yes
large
and some
homes
no.
and small homes, but I think fixing this up would be an improvement for the neighborhood.
Yeah, if you reference the survey, the neighbor's deck is actually built onto our property.
Oh.
And that property just to the south of us would be one of the properties that I would reference doesn't meet the setback requirements.
And what, the total square foot of the structure when it's complete?
I believe it's a little less than 1,500, right around 1,500 square feet.
Okay,
I don't have the exact figure, I'm sorry.
that's all right.
Mr. Zurich?
Megan, were there any adjacent homeowners sending in any concerns or complaints?
We didn't have any correspondence. I did have a telephone call this afternoon with the gentleman who lived 2 doors down. He wanted to know how much the proposal would extend from the existing building. So we talked about how it was approximately, I think, 6 to 8 feet. And then he was concerned about where their septic was. And as far as I could tell, that wasn't on the plans, and that's something that Oakland County Health would take care of. That's not their purview of the township. But I also don't know whether the location of the tank or the septic is another extenuating circumstance about where the building's placed.
We know about where the tank is and where about the septic field is, so there will be some exploratory measures that we have to take before we fully dig the foundation in that location.
It's shown on page
But
16.
the tank is
Right in the front door.
further south than the extension, and then the drain field would be out beyond that, closer to the street.
I believe I'm looking at this right, but you're looking at going about 5 or 6 feet closer to the road than the existing structure. Does that sound right?
Yes, that's correct.
The hatched areas.
That will
become the
give
new
us a bedroom
expanded
that's
area.
about the minimum size that you would see today in new construction. Around, I believe the dimensions were about 11 by 12 or 11 by 13.
I don't have too big of a concern. I would like to support your project. I think it will make the property much nicer, and it's, I guess, a little bit challenging to, approve something that's so close to the property line, but I think that the design looks good. I have no other questions.
Mr. Ritchie?
So, looking at the far left corner of your house, that, it seems like it's a 10-foot setback. Is that what you're saying, right there? Even though it has a 10-foot side yard setback hash line, so I guess, unless I'm just not reading it right.
In that back corner.
Is it
Taking
at
up-
10 foot there?
Taking up half of that, roughly.
Or is it,
Correct.
oh, it's 10 to there, okay,
4
not to
foot
the
two.
corner.
The current structure abides by the 10-foot setback. The
Right, the
expanded
expanded
structure
part, right.
is asking for about a 4.5-foot.
I should have zoomed in,
encroachment.
see the 10 foot is past the corner. Okay.
Yes,
Mhm.
which raised that question. I haven't gone through that ordinance. Again, a non-conforming lot appears to have consideration for a 5-foot side yard setback, but as Megan points out, it does have some conditions that we'll have to read through if that becomes applicable.
So the way you have it drawn, it's 5 foot 9.5 from
Right.
that corner. So.
Mhm.
Other thoughts or questions, Mr. Ritchie?
Nope, but I guess I like the architecture and saving the building, the character of the building as well, but, looking at the building envelope, I guess I understand what he's talking about, where if you expand it to the southern part, if that is the south, you're you're putting the addition where you have to, like say, walk through the private areas, so
Mhm.
I can understand that as well, so.
Mr. Hatterman, do you anticipate reusing the existing foundation, or will the foundation have to be reconstructed?
We are reusing the existing foundation. It's in sound condition, but we are adding to it in the new addition areas.
And the septic tank and septic field, do you anticipate having to reconstruct those?
No.
So there's an existing
Yeah.
septic field and septic tank?
We know where the tank is,
I
and we
see that.
generally know then where the field is, and we were out of bounds of those things.
And where do you think that field is?
It's between the house and the road. It's a little bit closer, I think, to the parking
Oh, I
area.
see, there's actually a
Yeah.
dotted outline there. Okay.
I would also like to note that the existing house is two-bedroom. The new renovation will be two-bedroom also, so we don't have to expand that field.
So it really becomes the notion of a renovation versus a tear down. If it's a tear down and a complete reconstruction of the foundation and everything else like that,
Correct.
it would be intuitive that it could be placed within the building envelope. The fact that it's an existing structure, existing non-conforming structure that's essentially being renovated and expanded as opposed to starting over, essentially creates the request for these variances.
Yes, that's correct.
Additional questions, comments from the board?
I have another comment, and I'm looking at, I know what our ordinance says, and I know what the state statute is regarding adding to nonconformity, and by approving this variance, if we do that, we've basically kind of not followed what our own ordinance says, is which we're not supposed to add to the degree of nonconformity.
Can you give us
And-
a site for that, please?
Sure.
Also, Megan, on this other thing about the side yard setback, I heard you to say that it was at 1505,
1305.
13?
1305B,
Then I just
page
heard wrong.
337.
I don't have the number with me, but it's in the variance, or it's in the ordinance, rather. And Megan, I'm sure you can confirm that for me, because it's not necessarily in our ordinance, it's also Michigan state law. It is
Right.
just duplicated in our ordinance. And the goal of having a non-conforming, not adding to non-conformity, is to eventually bring the property into conformity. And so I just believe that, especially, there's nothing here that's land-based that is a hardship. This is all design preference.
Hardships aren't what were required. This is not a use variance.
So it's 1302, nonconforming structures, I believe what trustee Hayward is referencing.
I'm sorry, then I'll just use the term practical difficulty, because there's no practical difficulty of the property that's causing them to build any other place. They can build within the building envelope. So, other than that, I looked at the property too. I drove out there and looked at it. It is a beautiful property. But
So,
at this point, I would have to say no, because there's no practical difficulty for what's being requested.
At this point, I'm going to open up for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment on this case? Seeing none in the audience, is there anyone online who would like to comment on this case? Seeing none, I will close public comment. I will bring it back to the board for further discussion, questions, or a motion, please.
Well, I'm seeing at our ordinance 1305, and I don't have any citation to this non-conforming not being expanded in the state law. And what any particular law actually says is, of course, important. But I read 1305 to say that specifically for single-family residentials, where that is a principal permitted use, and they do not meet the minimum standards, that we can grant them is recognize that some such lots are simply too small to permit the construction of adequate dwelling, blah, blah, blah. The maintenance of sufficient open space to permit fire protection and reasonable light and air, as well as room and views to permit and encourage property maintenance. I read that to say that in this particular instance, we can have that authority. I think that's why we've done it in the past, I would anticipate. And maybe this next reference at 1305B, Jim, is what you were referencing. It says, all non-conforming lots of record shall have required side yard setbacks of at least one side of 5 feet and a total of 2 sides with 15 feet.
That's
That-
correct.
That's your,
Correct, that's what I had referenced.
okay, that's 1305B.
Megan, you looked like you wanted to comment on my comment regarding adding to the degree of nonconformity.
It's just that was in 1302.
Pardon me?
It's in 1302, is the site, is what I believe you were referring to was, and that's a non-conforming structures. So 1302B says, no such non-conforming structure may be enlarged or altered in any way that increases the nonconformity. But the zoning board of appeals can give a variance for anything on dimensional when it meets all of those standards.
Right, so basically saying if there was a problem with the property, say there was wetlands or something, they had no other alternative. But I just don't, I
Yeah.
don't see the practical difficulty of the rest of the land. Clearly, they're trying to build other things in the building envelope. So I think that, I'm not gonna keep restating. So that's
In
my
other,
belief of this, support of the ordinance, so.
in other lakefront communities, when I've worked with their zoning boards of appeals, at times they have seen the location of an existing foundation as something that's part of the lot or the property itself. Others I've worked with have not seen that as that, and then, because sometimes there's a tax. There's an incentive in terms of property tax and how it's assessed in order to use the existing foundation rather than to
I think
build new.
that our ordinance, and certainly the interpretation of it over the last 20 years, takes into effect the existing elements of the land. It's not just a wetland, or not just a tree, or not just different things like that, but it's the existing conditions of the house, so long as the current applicant or the previous previous owner hadn't created those. So the existing, in my opinion, the existing structure becomes part of that existing land or condition of the land. Doesn't specifically say that it has to be something environmental to the land, but just the existing condition of the lot that may be dissimilar to those around it.
Right, that would be the practical difficulty of building anywhere else, so you would be forced to add to the nonconformity, but in this case, that's not the situation. This is a design preference.
Well, gentlemen, we have considered, I certainly think it warrants time to continue to go through the ordinance if we'd like to do that. If someone is prepared to make a motion, we can do that. We can ask the applicant some additional questions. Mr. Hayward, how about a motion?
I move to deny the variance because the applicant has not demonstrated a practical difficulty under Michigan law. Usable habitable space can be constructed within the building envelope without a variance. The request is based on design preference and would increase the existing nonconformity, which is prohibited. The required findings have not been met.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
I'll support.
We have support. Are there any questions on the motion? Megan, may we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Hayward,
Yes.
Secretary Zurich,
No.
Chair Epic,
Yes.
Planning Commissioner Ritchie,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wallace.
No.
So the motion is passed, the variance requests have been denied, so you'll have to work with your architectural team, your owner group, and look to not expand the non-conforming use or build within the envelope, as Mr. Hayward has stated.
Are we allowed to expand the existing structure at all?
You can,
Because technically that is an expansion of a non-conforming use.
ooh, oh, Mr.
Megan.
Chair, it's not the expansion of a non-conforming use, it's the expansion of a non-conforming.
Non-conforming building structure, sorry,
And
structure.
then you can expand it as long as it remains within the building envelope.
Okay.
Or, within the building envelope.
Or
In other
does it-
words, the expansion of the
make sense.
non-conforming use is when it has grown closer to the road.
Or if they take the nonconformity, so they are nonconforming in terms of the front yard setback. What they can't do is then drag that to fill in the side of a square, in order to square it off or whatnot. So we can work with you.
But
and-
just, is it correct, what he said before, that just to build in the existing footprint, he's gonna need a variance?
To build in the existing footprint, no, because it's a non-conforming structure, so he could do everything within the walls, and he could use the existing footprint as long as they're not expanding it. But what they're proposing to do is to expand a wall, and so when they expand the walls, they need to be within the building envelope.
So for clarification, it's not a question of not being able to expand the walls, it's not being able to expand the walls beyond the building envelope. You could fill the entire building envelope.
By building envelope, we mean the existing building
No.
footprint?
No.
The buildable area, which is the lot area minus the front, side, and rear setbacks.
So there's
a-
little dots
Which
around
is
the,
kind of
you can see
highlighted
the
Yeah.
here.
building envelopes kind of noted on the,
Yeah, actually,
Drawings.
if I can share my screen, I can show you.
So in other words, you could take that house and completely rotate it north-south. It would fit within the building envelopes, buildable envelope, let's say.
you can do whatever you want to that house as long as it's on the building envelope. You just can't go outside of it anymore, that's all.
All right, I can't. Let me. So, John, if you're there, can you share page 16 of the packet? Oh, it should be Matt? Matt. Okay. Because-
something coming
Looks
up.
like he's doing it.
Yeah, thank you. Keep going, Matt. Nope, keep going down.
Zoom out a little bit.
Page 16, he's,
Yeah,
or page 10, 11, 12.
So, while he's getting there, so is it possible he could have a 5-foot yard side setback?
yeah, because it's a non-conforming lot. Okay. I think it's the next page, actually. There you go.
Need to zoom out a little bit.
All right. So I'm gonna come over here. I apologize if folks can't hear me at home. So this dotted line here is this is the building setback. So you can see that this is 10 feet, this is 40 feet. So, and here's the front yard setback. This clear spot, space is the existing house. So right now, they're encroaching into the front yard setback. By adding on this way, they're expanding the nonconformity. If they expanded here, this way, they could come all the way over and fill in here. And I think you can see how this house, you can see how they're outside their building envelope here, but that shape is much more akin to filling the entire building envelope. So in order for them to expand and remain conforming, they would need to, this wall would need to stay, come back, and then additions would need to be in this space over here, and it could go all the way out to there. But since they have the design choice, or looking at existing conditions of the existing foundation, when they have chosen to add on, they look to push this way, somewhat this way, and then over here, and that's where they they would expand beyond the 10-yard setback. But because it's a small lot, 13,000 square feet, not 15,000 square feet, that 1305B would apply. I'm just not sure at this moment of the technicalities of how that does, and whether item C, whether it would need to be noticed and come before you again under item C of 1305.
I read 1305, though, titled Non-Conforming Lots of Record, to allow us to make these distinctions based on certain other findings.
Yes.
And we didn't even attempt to do that. Okay.
All right. Well, Mr. Hatterman, the board has made a motion and accepted that motion. I think you understand that there are options there. Unfortunately, they'll probably result in, removing your foundation or portions of that. But we wish you to, luck and continue to work with the building department.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. That ends our new business. We'll move on to item H, approval of the minutes in our packet. We have the minutes of the regular meeting of November 5th, 2025. Those were posted online. Ideally, you've had a moment to review those minutes. Are there any changes, modifications, or motion to accept the minutes of November 5th?
I'll move to accept the minutes of November 5th, 2025.
Second that?
Motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain because I wasn't here, so.
One abstention. Motion passes. Minutes are accepted. Item I is discussion. I have a few points of discussion. We'll obviously open it up to the whole board. By way of update, I don't have the paperwork in front of me. As you know, the Township Board has sued the Zoning Board of Appeals for a case in the early winter that the ZBA, the judge ruled that the ZBA was not negligent in their duties, so to speak, and ruled on behalf of the ZBA. The Township Board appealed that decision this week. Earlier this week, the Court of Appeals elected not to accept the appeal on condition of lack of merit. And so at this point, the appeal has been essentially not heard. I guess the Township Board may or may not determine to continue and to appeal again. I'm not sure what that status is, but currently that is an update on that lawsuit. In terms of new members and kind of a new year, what I've done, just for point of information, is took the liberty of printing out our zoning ordinance, some paperwork that Mr. Carlisle has provided us in the past, and our Independence Township Zoning Board of Appeals Procedure Manual. So I don't think there's any new information in here. The zoning board, through its deliberation of reappointing planning commissioners, Mr. Hayward had a lot to say about our performance, and so I wanted to bring this to the forefront in terms of zoning ordinance, make sure everyone continues to stay fresh with the ordinance. If you have any questions, we can certainly discuss those. Megan, Mr. Carlisle, the township supervisor can all provide additional direction, but I at least wanted to put that out at the forefront so that we have those. Those are my items of discussion. Are there other items of discussion?
I would just like to thank you guys for, it was a tough day yesterday. It was a tough day for me. And I can sit here and say that, but it was harder for Jim than it was for anybody. And I'm just here to say, I just, everything aside, my goal here is to try to do the right things here and move forward and have, if we can make improvements, to make improvements. And that's why I supported all the board's motions today with the appointments of the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary. So, and then hopefully that Jim and I can have some conversation later, if he's willing, and even Mr. Wallace, so.
It's a tough day yesterday
Yep.
because of your attacks on Mr. Epic for all the wrong reasons and the lies that you spewed out on the record to this community about him, besmirching his reputation and all the fine work that he's done. So this notion that you're here now going to try and make up for it all falls flat. Just show up and do the job. This isn't about politics here. This is about serving.
Understand.
Good.
So, in regards to the application today, I'm hoping the next meeting that I attend, which I don't know if you got the email, but I cannot make next month's meeting.
Thank you.
I said that to Brian, but I didn't realize the change. So I will not be here next month. But I'm hoping, whether it's next month or you can explain to me the month after, what is the ruling on this 5-foot variance on this particular property with this particular application? Because it would be nice to have been able to tell the customer in this case, the applicant, that you're okay in the corner. You gotta just maybe pull back the front deviation. And that would have been, I think, a lot easier for him to deal with.
It
So
may be worthwhile for us to have an interpretation of that 1305.
One thing, I guess I should have suggested this, we are not obligated to make a decision on the night that is before us. It is perfectly acceptable and sometimes perhaps appropriate to ask for more information,
It's provided for in the ordinance.
The ordinance
actually.
allows us
Yep.
to simply table it to consider it. And so, although I hate to use this term because it's overused on TV, I don't think we rush to judgment, but we do have to remember all of the options available to us. And that's one of the reasons why I've spent, after all the comments on me, I've spent a lot of time going through the ordinance, and I just think it's a good reminder to know those nuances of what our options are, to table things, to ask for legal opinion, to ask for planning opinion, to ask for building opinion, to go back out to the site. All those things are available to us. Obviously, applicants are typically in a hurry, but I think they'd rather have us make the right decision than rush to a decision. I do firmly believe that the Zoning Board of Appeals has a unique position to work with the community and to look for the overall improvement of properties, which very specifically, if they're here, it's because they don't fit into the ordinance. It's not a black and white application. It's a nuance, and it's the ability to work with our ordinance, work with the community members, and try to arrive at an equitable decision. So, Ken, I'll follow up on that, and I'll ask Megan to do the same.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing no additional discussion, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are,
Support.
support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7, is that 6, is that right? 6:54.